All right. So it's good to see that we both have we got the memo, right? White
Did.
V-neck t-shirt.
Well, I had a sweater on, but I just walked up the entire street of a new listing inviting the neighbors to an exclusive neighbors open house.
Very nice.
So I got hot. So I took off. So now we're twinning with our tortoiseshell
Right. At least like
outfits.
we planned this. That's great.
Exactly. We did not.
We're starting to rub off on each other.
Hmm. There's worse things. There's worse things that can happen.
Absolutely. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
So we have an interesting topic today, I think, right?
A good topic. I
I
think
think
a good one if you are a team leader or if you are looking for a team and not knowing, right,
Mhm.
who you want to be led by, or maybe even questions to ask if you're interviewing with the team,
No, I agree.
right?
I think it's good as we kind of grow because we've been growing over the last couple of weeks. Have some exciting things coming down the pike too. But I think we have had to reflect on this a lot, right? Like, what are some great leadership qualities? Because I think we take this very seriously. We're having people come and join and align with us. We want to make sure that we're absolutely doing everything that we can to help them be successful. And part of that is you and I trying to be the absolutely very best leaders we can be, and what that looks like, and how we can grow ourselves as leaders too.
Mhm. It's hard.
It is hard. I agree with you. I was talking to a friend yesterday who we were managers together in pharma, and she's in a different industry now. And she's actually probably going to retire in like 5 years. And she said, I don't miss it. I was like, really? I was like, that surprises me. And she says, hard. She's like, it's one of the hardest things that she had to do was to kind of get outside of herself and how to serve people in that manner. And it had me reflecting, about this a little bit more yesterday after that phone conversation.
But so incredibly rewarding.
Oh my gosh, the best
You know,
thing ever.
so I think that's why some of us keep doing it.
Yes. Either that or gluttons for punishment, maybe a little bit
Yeah. I'm
both.
gonna go with the first one, the first choice. Okay.
Good.
So I think we have like the top 10 things that right? Like what do we decide? Like the top 10 things that we look into that we self-reflect on or that we are very aware of. Is that kind of what
Yeah.
yeah.
I think kinda how it started too is, yeah, top 10 of, like, qualities. If I've seen it before from another manager, right? Or some
Mhm.
qualities that I know maybe I've missed or seen in others too, it's kinda nice to have that list. And I was sharing with Mackenzie earlier, the best manager I ever had, and I may tag her in this post too, is one that I had way back, right out of college. I was an area director for a coffee franchise, and she was tough and she was wonderful. And to this day, she's still the best manager I ever had. She was tough when she needed to be tough. She loved us though. Like we always knew that she led with such fairness, passion. But boy, if you messed up, she would tell you. And that's the part I loved about her because she was strong and she was direct. Again, it was never personal. I felt like she only told me negative feedback when it would benefit myself, and the way she delivered that, and it was hard, but I always respected her for it. So, anyway, maybe we'll see
Love
some of
that.
those qualities today too. Yeah,
Mhm.
she's great. Anyway, Ellen Guilford, shout out girl. You good.
Love that. And you still remember. That means it
I
was just
do.
really good. Mhm.
I do. She's been a great role model over the years. But I think the first one that I had listed down was self-identity, right? There's different types of leaders and maybe not one size fits all, but I think it's super important to know who you are, right? What is your style? What kind of business are you building? What your pros and cons? What are you bringing to the table, right?
Mhm. Yes. And this one is, do you, as you hopefully become better, right? Because no one's perfect and we're all looking to become better, right? At leading, helping agents, helping whomever that is. So with that self identity, it's just, what of myself, that I'm okay with that I want to get better, or what of myself do I want to change because and change for the right reasons, I guess, too, right? So
Yeah.
there's who we are. We are who we are, right? There's only so much that you can and change in that. But just being okay, being really okay with who you are. And
Mhm.
and yeah, and just owning it, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah, I think sometimes leaders try to be too much to everyone. They may try to kind of be this way with this person, be this way with that
Mhm.
person, and it may be that they don't solidly know who they are. I think, like to their core, what kind of leader are they? They're trying to be maybe too much to other people, in my opinion. I've seen that happen
Mhm.
too.
Absolutely. 'Cause that can be exhausting.
Oh, for everybody, right?
Mhm. Absolutely.
I agree too. So I think this is another one I had written down too is do what you say, which I think that just goes in life. But I
Yes.
think sometimes leaders can get trapped in that overpromising and under-delivering or changing course, and not maybe explaining why. I mean, you obviously you can do that. It's your company, your business, whatever. It's your choice. But if you set some expectations or you tell people something that's going on or you promise them something, deliver it or just don't offer it, right?
Yes, and sometimes, we want to I should say I'm a people pleaser by nature, right? But then that can also be a detriment in the fact, again, you don't wanna overpromise and underdeliver. So I think we can all do that, but I think what's really powerful is I don't think anyone's expecting anyone to be perfect, whether you're the leader or whether you're being led or
Mhm.
vice versa. But owning up, you know what? I I said that what we were going to do this and we're not. And this is why.
Mm,
And I owe you an apology. And I bet that did not feel good.
right.
But this is where we are. So I do think, that's hard to do. And that goes back to one of our other ones. So I don't mean to hop out of order or whatever, but how vulnerable do you want to share yourself with your team? But
Yeah.
I think that can be vulnerable because we don't want to we think so I think we think that they want us to be perfect,
Mhm.
and if they want us to be perfect, Pam, they're in trouble.
I know, right?
But at least own where we are and trying
Yeah.
to be and trying to own if that does happen, and because then you can move on from that. It's hard to move on from something when you do that if it's not brought out in the open. So,
Well, I think people start to question integrity a little bit too, if you're constantly not a person of your word as well.
mhm,
So, no matter what in life, if you're a leader, role player, whatever, but I think it's particularly important when you're a leader. You do have to do what you say as you do. That's a hard one
absolutely. It
sometimes.
is.
I think the intent's not necessarily bad, but the how it can come off, it can be really detrimental there too.
Correct.
All right, here's another one, girl.
Okay.
So you said, and I agree that I think we think people think we should be perfect all the time, all that, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
But I think we can sometimes, and I'm bad about this because my driver personality, I can naturally default to where I got this. It's like almost overconfidence in some areas, and I know that about myself. But being open to other people's ideas, right? You don't have to have all the answers. You shouldn't have all the answers, but
Well, if
open
we have all the answers, then we're
me.
the smartest people in the room, and don't they tell us to never be in the room, but to be the smartest people, right? Does that make sense?
Yep.
Smartest people in the
Mhm.
room sort of
Yeah.
thing? So, God, if we have all the I don't wanna have all the answers, that's too much pressure.
Well, I can 100% decisively say, I don't have all the answers.
I thought you were gonna say that you don't have all the answers.
That's it, I don't have all the
No,
answers.
no, I thought you were gonna say, "I decisively know that you do not, Mackenzie, have all the answers."
This is one thing I know, though. I work to try to find them, and you will too.
100 absolutely. I'll be the first person. I was just talking to a mentee today, and I'm like, "You know what? That is a great question that has never been asked before, and I do not have an answer for you. Hold, please."
Exactly. I'll be back with you.
Right. And he said, he's like, "I love that you don't try to tell me something that's not true." I was like, "Well, good Lord, my job is to keep you out of real estate jail. So if I'm not telling you the right stuff, we're both in trouble." So
I'm gonna keep myself out too at the same time.
exactly, exactly. Hmm.
All right, one more, number 4,
Mhm.
being strong enough in the hard. This one may be my favorite. I think it's easy to lead when there's lots of wins, right? And it's exciting and people are motivated and things are kind of going your way. But man, it gets tough, right? When you've got to make some really tough decisions or you need to have tough conversations with people that aren't warm and friendly and you're not looking forward to it. I personally think, though, that is the opportunity. I think to show what you're made of, who you are as a person, when you can stand in those really tough times and be fair and honest and direct with people because that's what they need from you, even during bad times. And that's a difference maker for me.
And this one's a hard one for me. Not, yes, it's what I've, because I know this is a challenge, right? From just not wanting, I'm all the feels,
Mhm.
that I can put myself how I'm feeling about delivering the information and then being like, this has nothing to do with you. This is, that sort of thing. And
Mhm.
so I'm taking myself out of that and then going back to that direct conversation. I love hearing that your best manager was somebody who was just direct with you, but
Mhm.
also knew on the other side that it came from the right place. Right. So I think it's hard to deliver or it's hard to hear
Mhm.
if you're not quite sure of where you stand with that person. And so it's
Mhm.
helped me to make sure that everyone that I work with, I would hope knows where they stand, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Mhm.
They know what the true intention is. And so that way, when I do screw up, because we already decided that we're not perfect and we don't have all the answers, um, we can hopefully have a little bit of grace on both sides, but still
Mhm.
work through those tough conversations.
Yeah. Here's the difference. She was never mean. And that's an emotion.
Mm.
That's an intentional, personal kind of feel to it, you know? And
Mhm.
oddly enough, unfortunately, I've had to let people go through the years, or layoffs or whatever, just restructuring or whatever. But some of those people have been strangely good enough to remain a personal relationship even after the fact. And I think sometimes it does come from, again, being honest and being direct and not making it personal, but explaining things in a way that it comes off that you really wanna help someone, right? Help them understand what's going on, where the miss was or whatever, and that is not I don't think anybody looks forward to those types of things, but I think it can be done respectful, and I think it can be done the right way, and your other people are watching.
Mhm.
They're watching how you handle that. So that
Mhm.
part's gotta be really good, not fun, but good.
Mm.
I know, girl. Whew, let's move on to number 5.
Yes, please.
That one's a deep one. Um, you mentioned it before, vulnerability, um, and expressing, I think, being authentic in ourselves. I think those are similar. So how do you feel about a leader? Should they be vulnerable to you, or do you see that as a sign of weakness and that would worry you?
I don't see it as a sign of weakness, but I think I also in the past could have shown too much of it,
Mm,
right?
mhm,
So it's just again kind of going back to the intent of the situation, right? What was the reasoning behind it, right? And sometimes I think we can be vulnerable as leaders because we think it's going to make us feel better for a certain situation for the right? Like I can be vulnerable because I think it's going to make the delivery of whatever bad information I have to give easier for the person to hear. Or
mhm,
if I'm vulnerable and I'm giving them bad information, they won't be mad at me. Or again, we're going into that personal part of it. We're not getting back to that, the true intent of it. And I hate to say the business part of it because it is that, but it's just that human element, just trying to take out that emotion, that quick human emotion of it, and just looking at the situation for what it is. So
mhm.
I do love to see somebody that I look up to be vulnerable. For a hot second, it's like, okay, he or she's just like me. We're good, right? But I think it's just again, it's a fine line, and just asking ourselves, why are we choosing to show this at this time in this situation with this person, and making sure that it feels true and feels right.
I love that because I think you're right, it's about balance.
Mhm.
Because I don't think anyone wants a leader to show such vulnerability that it comes off as some weakness there, and they're like, "Oh my god."
Like what's happening? Where's the
Are
ship
they
going?
steering the
Are we
ship?
sinking?
Do they have
Exactly.
this under control? Should I worry? So
Mhm.
there is a balance there, and I think sometimes you may have a little bit more fear yourself, you just
Mhm.
have to it's not that you're not being honest, but maybe you don't show the full capacity of it too, because you don't want to make people worry unnecessarily about something.
Correct.
But I agree with you. I think when you can kind of show that authentic, that we're not perfect, that we're working through something, we made a mistake, or we're working through this little issue, instead of trying to lie about it, sweep it under the rug, not show it, is bring people in to have them help you too. That's
Mhm.
okay too. That's really what a team is about. And I think it's an opportunity sometimes to just get people really dug in and feeling like they have some ownership of it too, if they're able to help. So,
Mhm.
but that's a tough balance there sometimes, I think.
Mm.
See people walk it though pretty well. So anyway,
Mhm. Absolutely. It's Brene Brown, isn't she's the one who says that we need to be all vulnerable, and I love her, so
yeah, yeah.
vulnerable, that's a hard word
We
for me
could
to say.
probably do more of that, honestly. I think we sometimes like to make everything look so pretty and perfect all the time, and that is complete utter bullshit.
Well, that's why we should record the recordings before we record.
Right? One of these days. Have a
No,
long blooper reel.
no.
I know there's a little bit of language maybe in that section.
Spicy, sorry.
We were feisty today, so
Mhm.
we're much
Okay.
more relaxed and chill on this. Woo. All right, number 6. This one I think is such a miss, is transparency. So it's a little bit different, right, than vulnerability or authentic self. It's more, "What the hell's going on around here?" And don't lie to me and tell me that it's something else, because I know that's not the truth. So just be more transparent, right? Not over the top, but I think there's a way to do transparency that people really appreciate.
Absolutely. We were just looking at a different lead source, and I had a very transparent conversation saying, I want you on it to learn about it, but full transparency, this is where we are, this is where we're headed. These are the decisions that have to be made. Here's, McKinsey agent, here's McKinsey, team leader. So I'm having you coming into this because I want to hear your thoughts and your feelings about this different idea. But please understand, it doesn't mean that it's going to happen, or, there's going to be certain variations of different options. And so I just want you to be prepared for that.
Mhm.
And I think, and again, it does help me to then be able to go back to the transparency. For me, helps to deliver information that perhaps some
Mhm.
people aren't going to want to hear.
Right.
I think, so that's where I do like to have a timeout and use that word, because I think
Mhm.
sometimes it's overused, like authentic and, well, transparent.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so whatever the word is, it's kind of creating not creating it, it's setting a stage, it's setting a story, right? The different of what could happen. So if at the end of the day, the outcome isn't what everybody wanted, because Lord knows we can't please everybody at the same time. The outcome wasn't what everyone wanted. I feel like my only hope is that we had provided that could be an outcome, I guess.
Mhm.
Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
it does. Totally.
Okay.
I agree with you.
Okay, good. Because I'm not sure. I was like, what am I trying to
No, because
say?
I'm gonna tie it in later on, because there's another little
Okay, good.
section, and it's
Mhm.
yeah, some similarities there.
Okay.
So, yeah. No, I feel you, girl.
Okay, good.
Transparent. Don't lie to people.
Mm-mm.
Just be upfront. Let's talk
Mhm.
about it. I can
Mhm.
handle it. I'm a big girl.
Mhm.
Fairness based in performance. I have been on some teams before, and I'm like thinking specifically of like some pharma days where it felt like some team members were the chosen few, right? And it
Mhm.
was like it seemed to be based on nothing then. I just like them more.
Right.
I just vibe with them. They're just, I don't know. So, and then it leaves everybody else that may feel like maybe they're not in the clique, feeling like they're kind of on the outside looking in. I personally think it's a culture killer. Um, Over the years, I will say, like, I'm not one that goes on vacation or does a lot of extracurricular activity with people that work with me. And part of that is because I never wanted that feeling, right? That there was
Mhm.
some favoritism, that I liked this person a little bit more. We're all humans, right? There's people we connect with a little bit more. But in business, I think sometimes it's super important to take that out. Here's the caveat. I've also been told, and I agree with this, a team is not 100% fair, right? Not everybody gets the same opportunities. There's superstars on a basketball team, they get more playing minutes.
Mhm.
And we would all think they were dumb, right? To just do a fair rotation through the bench warmer.
Right.
And this guy's not quite as good. He's getting opportunity, right? He's there, but maybe not the same amount of opportunity. So, how do you create an environment, right, where everybody buys in and understands that there is a level of fairness, but maybe there is something to giving more opportunities to converters or whatever? And how do you manage that as a manager? It's incredibly tough to keep people bought in on that.
Yeah, and I think it's just being I'm gonna go back to transparent with the expectations, you know, if this, then this,
Mhm.
right? It's so then it's not the emotion, it's not that I like you, it's not that I, and I think it gives opportunity for other people to then, feel like the chosen one. Not that they're the chosen one, but feel like they have earned or receiving maybe some different opportunities. And
Yeah,
that's
based on
really
results, right? Or
correct.
yeah, performance, right? Then
Mhm.
you've got some things that tied to it. Yes, if you perform and you convert and you do this, then there's this other piece of opportunity that's available to you. Now that's
Mhm.
fair because it's based in metrics, it's based in, something that I can monitor as opposed to I just like you a little bit more, so I'm going to give you more. Whether that happens or maybe there is a KPI, sometimes we don't know, but the appearance of that can be deadly.
Well, perception's reality.
Mhm.
Doesn't that was one of that's one of my what is the perception of this? That's their reality and not might be my reality, but it's their reality. And then how do I navigate that? So I try to
Mhm.
look at things from this is my perception of the conversation, but what could have been their perception or at their especially when somebody reacts to something or doesn't react to something, okay, our perceptions are off. Right? It's a good indicator to be like, "Okay, what could her reality be here?" Or ask that question going, "I don't think that we're
We're not on
clearly
the
not
same
coming at
page.
this conversation," so that opens up another conversation to have that, right? And so yes, because going back to that, the fairness and I'm gonna give you more because I like you, it's it's just it's when you have that, when relationships is in every behavior model there is, relationships is my number one, and that's just no matter what I take, it's about relationships, and so, um, I've inadvertently probably sometimes made people feel that I do that, and it's just I'll talk to anybody. If they come talk to me, I talk to them. You know what I mean? And so but yeah, that's a hard
Yeah,
one too, to make sure that you're always aware and cognizant of, and
right, for sure.
certainly not
And when
perfect at it, but
relationships are important to you, that's
mhm,
kinda how you can lead that way, right? On if
mhm.
someone's kind of giving, then you want to give them back in return too. So, I
Yeah.
don't think there's anything wrong with it, it's just it's interesting though to think about how we process people, how we kinda manage that fairness part. It's weird.
One thing that I learned that also in the last couple of years is that people give in different ways. So
Mhm.
just because they're not giving in the way that perhaps I see perceive as giving, they're giving in other ways, and to be aware of that too. So instead of saying, "Oh, well, they're not giving because they're not doing it the way I'm doing it," it's like, well, no, maybe they're just doing it differently, and how is that impacting or helping or benefiting the team or the group or the whoever? So I've
Yeah,
had to. That's been a good lesson to learn too.
yeah, for sure. That's a really good
Mhm.
one.
Mhm.
All right, this is the tie-in because this is, I think, what you've mentioned several times in a lot of ways, about transparency and being authentic and all that. It really comes down to, I think, I mean, literally, like the core piece to a lot of this is being able to set your expectations and communicate your expectations, right? um, that can be hard because I think people, when they feel like they're always trying to shoot at a moving target, they don't know where they stand because they don't know what you're really looking for from them. So you can be more transparent. You can have more candid conversations when you yourself as a leader are clear of what you want from people and you've told them that. And that's an easier conversation to have, isn't it? I thought we were on the same page. We talked like we were on the same page. I told you what I wanted. You said, yep, that sounds cool. And now we're a little off, right?
Mhm. Mm. And then when you get to that point, coming from that place of curiosity and questioning and not judgment, right? Or making sure your questions aren't coming from just, help me understand. Again, going back, my perception was we were on the same page.
Right.
Your solution was this. My solution I thought was this. And so now neither one of us, feel good or happy about what's happening here.
Yeah.
So, just help me understand that a little bit more.
Yeah.
And the expectations is a big one. That's a big one for
Huge
me.
one. Huge
Mhm.
one.
And it's okay to change them, because if we don't change, then we're not going to grow. But communicate that they've been changed.
Right.
And
Well, let's
sometimes
get
you're
that out
doing
of
all
the
these things in your head and you're like, oh, it makes total sense up here. And then you forget to
way.
do this. You're just like, oh, right. You might need to know what those new expectations are. And then I owe you an apology, right? It goes, like you said, it's all kind of ties into that. And then learning from that, right?
Mhm.
I think too, as leaders, it's just not on our list, but so important for you and I to have had an oh shit moment, have had that was not what we intended or what we meant. Think about it and learn from it, and try not to do it again, or
Yes.
over and over and over and over and over again. Sometimes we have to learn a few times, right?
Right.
The same thing. But gosh, just how many times can I say I'm going to be better at something and not be better at it? That people start losing faith in me as their leader, and then that would be the worst thing for me ever.
Well, that's a damn good tie-in, girl, to the next one.
And I didn't even know what it is.
Accountability. Right? And that goes both ways. On a team, helping to hold them accountable, so that they're able to achieve what they need to, but also in turn having an environment where people can help hold us accountable too, to deliver the things that we said that we were going to, in the way that we were going to, learning from those things and adjusting as needed there too. I mean, that's a full circle on all of that, but that's an important piece too. Nobody loves it, but God bless, we all need it. Everybody does.
And I think, though, for being held accountable to something all goes back to the manager that you talked about at the beginning of this video, was that you knew where it was coming from, and you knew they had set the expectation. You were on the same page. You made sure you were on the same page. And when I've been accused of, not being able to take, that accountability in, it's from just not knowing. And then that's when it can be hard to digest. And so trying to make sure that everyone understands what that is.
Dude, communication it's really the start of all of it.
It's
right?
so easy yet so hard. I don't understand. You and I can talk and communicate all of the time, but it's we use communication, but it's hard to do all the time well,
Because
with different personalities.
Right. And I think it's really hard to have sometimes those tough conversations, those ones we don't want to, or this makes me scared, or I don't like how this feels, and I don't like this. That's really hard. And if you either are a people pleaser, or sometimes if you are such a good salesperson that maybe you manipulate your personality sometimes to be liked by others, it sometimes muddies the water a little bit, I think, on really being able to say real clear, direct feedback, which is tough, but people need to hear, I think, too, with a soft touch from the right place. That's it. It's all about intent. All right. I know, girl. And this is been a therapy session today.
I'm like,
Last one.
Oh, we have another one. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Last one.
Mm-hmm.
Admitting when you make a mistake. You said it earlier, but it's kind of bringing that home a little bit. So we all make mistakes. None of us are perfect, and that's okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
But don't look at me and say that you didn't. Let's talk about it.
Or learning from them, right? Like we say, there's no mistakes, there's no failures, there's failing forward, all of that stuff. I do think the growth is in the failing and the hard and things like that. So just, admitting when you're wrong, and feeling out how you can have done better, and just try to do a little bit better next time.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Should we recap it, you think?
We should. Yep. Go for it.
All right. Number 1, Self identity, knowing who you are, knowing your style, know what you're building. Just know who you are and what you want. Number two, do what you say, have some
Mm.
integrity. Number three, be open to other ideas and thoughts. You don't have to have all the right answers because you don't. Be open to others. Number four, being strong enough in the hard. That's where people need leadership, is when things get really tough. So being really strong there. Number five, being vulnerable, being authentic to who you really are, even when that's hard.
Mm.
Number six, being transparent. It's okay to let people in on the behind the scenes. Number seven, fairness based in performance, not personal emotions. Number eight, being able to communicate expectations and knowing what your expectations are and communicate it. All right. Number nine, accountability. And number 10, admitting when you make a mistake.
Whew.
I know.
We got our work cut out for us.
We do. Yes, we do.
I think we're pretty good on some of those, just for the record.
I think we are too. But again, I think what's great is that we're similar, but we're so different in so many ways too. And so we kind of help complete, I think, a full circle there too. Where I lapse, you're good. Where you lapse, I'm good. And so we're doing all right, my dear. I
We
think so.
are.
All right.
All right, that was a good one. It was a long one, so stick with us, people.
I know. It's long and heavy, but really good, I think. So
Absolutely.
would love to hear what we missed. I know we missed. There's tons of things that people are looking for too. So if you got some ideas, let us know.
All right. Later, Gator.
All right.